Welcome to Spirit's Journey, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Your hosts are Patrick and Catherine Andrews.
Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so that you can live your most awesome life.
Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio. Hello and welcome to Spirit's Journey. We are coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio. We are also simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. We are here in the Heartland holding the energy for spiritual truth and awareness. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Catherine. Welcome, everyone. We've got an awesome show for you today. We're going to be talking a lot about what's going on out in the world and how we can understand what's going on using astrology and a little bit of numerology and how all this relates to life purpose. So I'm going to dive in right now, and I've had a lot of people asking me, with all the mass shootings going on, asking me what's going on in the world, what's really going on. So I'm going to give you, from my perspective, astrologically. One of the biggest things that's been going on for a while, actually for the last 150 years, is we have been transitioning from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. And this period takes about 250 years to make this switch. And so we're in a period right now which is called a cusp period in between these two ages of astrology. And change, of course, as we know, sometimes isn't fun. It stirs up stuff. And so part of what's going on is things are being churned up, things are changing. And so we are experiencing conflict. We are experiencing some strife. And that is normal when we are in the midst of a big change, okay? So what does it mean to move from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius? Well, the age of Pisces was all about, I believe. It was an age where people blindly followed. They had a lot of faith. And with that faith, they were able to then just believe in the prophet, the leader of the religious organization, without needing proof. So there was a lot of beauty to that because there was a lot of growth in spirituality. There was a lot of religions that popped up, churches, organizations, spiritual teachings that came about. On the negative, though, people blindly followed. So in a way, they kind of gave up some of their personal power, some of their own tools to assess and think for themselves. Of course, that would lead then to leaders being in charge rather than people self-governing. So what we find now in this switch from Pisces to Aquarius is the difficulty comes when people are stuck in this age of Pisces and not wanting to embrace the new Aquarian energies. Now, Aquarius is known for saying, I know. So Aquarian energy is about not blindly following, but it's about knowing based on your own experience, trusting your instincts, doing the work. So rather than somebody wanting to go blindly follow some, spiritual teacher or even religion, they want to know for themselves and have the direct experience. So churches and religions that are very top down are finding that they're gaining, or rather they're losing ground. They're losing a lot of people because people are just not wanting to blindly listen anymore. They want to be taught. So at the same time that we have this decline in a lot of the churches, we're seeing the rise in a lot of schools and places that are actually teaching the spiritual tools instead of just preaching what to believe. So the organizations and so forth that are recognizing this are moving from what we would call a leader-oriented philosophy to a more community-based or more school-based organization. That's a lot of what is bringing success. And of course, the churches and groups that are not following this are finding that their people are losing ground. They're losing people. Now, uh, note that there are certain, top-down groups and churches and so forth that are thriving. And that simply means that there's still people that are attached to the Piscean way, where they don't want to take responsibility. Aquarian is self-responsible. They still want somebody to lead them. And so as long as we still have those people that are not transitioning and embracing the new energy of Aquarius, they will find those places, where they can thrive. But I do feel that, again, over the next, we've got about 150 more years to go until the transition is complete. So by that time, I do believe that we will have lost most of these top-down hierarchical organizations. Now, this goes for government as well. Governments that are trying to rule from the top down rather than allowing, the individuals to become responsible and decreasing the size of government, they're going to have difficulties. So if you look at the United States, we are this self-governance. And we are definitely in conflict with those countries that are still trying to do it from the top down, with one leader leading the masses. And so, we've got 150 more years until this transition is complete. So I do see that there is the possibility for conflict and strife as the old is being replaced by the new. You can see that right now in the political realm. So people getting more into the modern day of what's going on. Well, all the stuff in politics in the United States is really about, do I want to self-govern myself? Do I want smaller government? Or do I want government to do it all for me? So again, there are so many people who want to take self-responsibility and don't want this big government. And then there are other people who still want to lead from the top down, who want more control. And there's still that group of people that says, oh, I want you to do it for me, pay for this, do all this for me. And so this strife, this battle taking place is going to be going on for quite some time until this transition is complete. So in terms of the political realm, what can we do? I think the only answer is really to unplug from the system, begin to self-govern. And how do you do that? Well, form communities, form groups with like-minded people, pool your resources together. You can get way out there and say, hey, I want to completely be off the grid. Get your solar power, build your own homes, build your communities, begin to self-govern, grow your own food. And this is the trend. And this is actually, in my opinion, the doorway to fully embracing the Aquarian age, where you are no longer looking for a government, a group, a religion to guide you. You become self-governing. And there's a lot of people, a lot of way showers in this area of the world. So you can begin to seek those out. And, let all the political strife, all that, just let it go. They're still trying to figure out how to embrace this Aquarian energy. So people who have a lot of Aquarian in their chart, astrology chart, are really thriving right now. So let's look at the mass shootings and what's going on there. Well, again, we have, the old versus the new, people trying to show their power. And so it's very interesting. I would say that part of what is going on is that we are being bombarded by, cell phone emissions. They're talking about the 5G, the quality of our food. So what's happening is our center, our core center that guides us, like our little radar, is really off balance. And so we are just being bombarded with all this stuff and losing our center. And so people are going out there doing crazy things. Keep in mind perspective. Remember, the news media has an objective. So they're focusing on these things for a reason. They're agitating us. And yes, there are people out there who are truly off balance. So once again, we have to do everything in our power to maintain balance. Eating the organic foods, staying away from, as much radiation and all this stuff that's affecting our radar. I just heard a very fascinating study of bees, and they have their own little radar in their brains that helps them navigate and go back to the hive. So the experiment was this: they took 3 beehives. In one of them, they left the beehive completely alone. In the second beehive, they put a cell phone, but they turned it completely off. And the third beehive, they put in a cell phone and left it turned on. And they watched the activity of the bees. Well, the first hive with no cell phone, everything continued as normal. The second hive with the cell phone that was completely turned off, the bees continued to live as normal. The third hive that had the beehive with the cell phone turned on, surprisingly enough, the bees, or actually not surprisingly, the bees would go out to find their honey, do their thing, but a lot of the bees were not returning to the hive. So the cell phone radiation, the cell phone waves, were interfering with the bees' little radar in their little mind, and so they were not finding their way back to the hive. I find that fascinating. Obviously, we're bigger than the bees, but all that stuff can still affect us to find our way home, so to speak.
So I have a question about that. So
Yeah.
did they discover if it was actually interfering with their ability to get back to the hives, or was it creating an interference radiation that made it unpleasant for them to be in the hive?
Well, they weren't even returning at all. So whether it was because they didn't like the cell phone or not, but the bees are programmed to go out, find the honey, and come back to the hive. So if they lost that sense of radar, I would say, it was more that they couldn't find their way back because they are programmed to go out, find the pollen, do all their stuff, and come back to the hive. That has been what bees do. So it's very interesting to see the effect on the insects. And of course, bees are a huge part of the whole crop system. So that's something else that's going on for people wondering, with all this violence and stuff. And so the last thing we want to talk about astrologically is the full moon coming up on August 15th. So this full moon is in Aquarius. And of course, the full moon is very high energy. We're working up to that. So the goal of Aquarius is group consciousness. And so we will be finding that this time of the full moon coming up here is a ripe opportunity to join and connect with others of like mind and embrace those of like mind. Now, there are 5 planets currently in fire signs. We know the sun right now is in Leo. 6 planets in fixed signs. So there is a lot of high-powered energy right now on the planet. It's really helping us be strong and powerful. And we can use this power to move through some of the difficulty going on with all the violence and stuff that's been going on with the mass shootings. Also, because of all this high energy, again, things get out of control. Things get a little bit chaotic when we have so much fire going on. On the good side, the sun being in Leo is asking us to bring out our creative self-expression. So what do you want to express and give to the world? What kind of creative endeavors can you engage in? So I don't know about everybody, but I have been getting a lot of creative insights. And the best way to receive these insights is to just slow down, recognize that there is beauty and power in downtime, in just completely reflecting, and it's not a waste of time. And that's hard for me. But the more that I embrace it, I've gotten some awesome ideas, specifically about a book that I'm currently working on, some other business things that we have going on as well. So that's something that we can all embrace right now. Now, let's go back to this Aquarian energy, because we're in the age of Aquarius, and right now we've got a full moon coming up in Aquarius. So it's really about humanitarian values and how can we live and communicate the ideals of Aquarius, which has to do with compassion, goodwill to others, teaching. What can you teach others? Now, Aquarius is an air sign. And air, of course, deals with the realm of the mental and the spiritual. So we are going to find in this age of Aquarius, which, by the way, will last 2,000 years. So it's not going to go away in the blink of an eye. We've got a lot of time to appreciate this energy. We can really develop our sensitivity to the finer vibrations in the universe. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's telepathic. That's telepathy, communicating mind to mind, picking up on subtle thoughts of other people. It's music. It's pictures. That's why we're finding, video, pictures, all that is becoming extremely significant in this age of Aquarius. It is technology as well. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is technology. So one of the big challenges in this Aquarian age is, can we keep our spiritual understanding at least at the same pace or ahead of the technological innovations, or will we allow technology to take us over? That's one of the challenges that we're being faced with. And I think the answer to that is, as long as we continue to develop our sensitivities, our intuitive and spiritual sense, we will be able to keep up with this technological onslaught. Because really the heart and the mind are receivers and transmitters of vibrations. So maybe we will get to the point where we don't even need cell phones, that we're communicating on an even higher level than that. Maybe this is just the intermediary. Time will tell. So the other astrological aspect going on now is Uranus squaring Mercury. So Mercury is the planet of communication. Uranus is uniqueness. So this is your opportunity. This is your time to say and express something unique. It's also your opportunity to receive insights, flashes of insight about your life purpose, about your uniqueness. So if you can slow down, allow yourself some reflective time to just be, I believe you can really take advantage of Uranus squaring Mercury energies. So I would say the whole essence right now astrologically is, what is your unique self-expression? What are your unique creative abilities? Allow these last weeks of summer and August to explore those creative realms and really bring out your self-expression, your uniqueness. I've seen it around me and some friends. One of our good friends who's also on the radio just showed us this amazing artwork she does with driftwood. I was like blown away by it. As I said, I've been getting some insights about books and ways to help people more with their life purpose. Patrick, have you gotten any insights about through creative endeavors?
Well, right now I'm actually gearing up for college speaking again, since August and September are busy months for contacting colleges. And so I've had a lot of inspiration in terms of ways to revamp my website and, use creativity to bring all of my materials and my program up to a new level. So yeah, I would say I've definitely been receiving a lot of creative input.
And so we invite our listeners today to call in, share with us what kind of new creative endeavors you've been doing. If you need guidance or if you've been feeling blocked, now is the time to harness that energy. So give us a call if you want to share what you've been up to.
And also that call-in number is in the United States, 213-233-3998. Again, that's 213-233-3998. In the UK, that is 44203-393-2871. Again, that's 44203-393-2871. And if you missed that while I was calling it out, you can also go to the Truth Frequency Radio website at tfrlive.com, and it will give you the call-in numbers as well.
And we are also taking any dreams. We love doing dream interpretation, so feel free to shoot us a dream today. We would love to interpret it for you, because dreams, of course, are the messages from the inner self, and they have a lot of wisdom for you. So we can help perhaps unravel some of your life purpose through just a simple dream interpretation. It's fascinating. So we really want to focus on this idea of life purpose, bringing out your unique expression. So we have actually gone ahead and created a private Facebook group called Discover and Live Your Life Purpose. We're really excited about it. It's been up and going for a couple of weeks now. We've got over, just tons of members, over 50 members just in a few weeks. We invite you, if you are somebody who is actively seeking and wanting to grow in your life purpose, if you want to be involved in a community of like-minded spiritual seekers to share and connect, you can find us at facebook.com/groups, Discover Life Purpose, and a slash at the end. We just ask people to answer 3 simple questions to see if you're in alignment with this community that we've formed. And then you're in. And we have topics every day of the week, except Sunday, where we encourage people to unplug. But for example, today is Soulful Saturday. So we're going to be connecting in with the soul. We have Metaphysical Mondays, where we share nuggets of wisdom from the metaphysical field. We have Tools and Tips Tuesday, where we encourage everybody to share a tool that they have used spiritually, metaphysically, that has helped them in their growth. So this is a free group, and you can learn a ton and connect and make amazing connections.
So one of the reasons that we are forming this group is that we are working to find ways to develop spiritual community. We feel that it's important for people who are on a spiritual path to be able to communicate with each other, to find people who have like interests, like philosophies, so that we can make those steps forward in our learning. So when you're with a group, there's always somebody who can present things in a way that maybe you haven't considered before. And so you are exposed to new ideas. It helps you to expand your mind. It doesn't mean that we need to be, so open that we're always just believing everything that the next person says, but it provides a lot of input for us to consider new things that we've never considered before. And that's all part of the growth process. So you try on new ideas, you see if they work for you. If they do, you keep them. If they don't, you just move on to the next new idea. And so together, we can always grow more than we can individually. That's why it's so important, so beneficial, we have found, to be together in groups.
And, of course, people are our greatest trigger for our lessons, as well as helping us share our gifts and talents. So if you are not living with people, if you are not interacting with people, you're not getting triggered, and you're just in a space of comfort. Now, that's usually the case, not always, but usually. So once you decide you're going to open up, you're going to interact, especially with people at the same level of yourself or above, you are saying to the universe, I'm ready to grow. And usually a community is, the ideal should be support. So that, yes, it doesn't mean it's going to be peaceful, calm, just a simple boat ride down the river. It is meant to trigger you, but if you have the tools to grow, it can be a very beneficial thing. I'm currently working on a book about experiences in groups and organizations, how to find out if this group is for you, how to tell if a certain spiritual teacher has your best interests in mind. I feel it's a really important topic now because the essence of what I'm explaining in this latest book is getting in touch with your inner voice. And specifically with all the stuff going on in the world, the political system, the educational system, the medical system, are all really props meant to help us really hear our own voice. Because when we have these huge organizations pounding down on us about what they believe is best for us, it's an opportunity for us to pull out our own wisdom, our own knowledge, and say, I'm going to listen to my own voice in this case. And I think that's one of the huge things going on right now, especially with social media, is, well, are we going to listen to these tidbits that we hear on social media, or are we going to go within and listen and get into deep thinking about what's really going on in the world? That, to me, is the most important tool right now. And if we can get that inner guidance system, we are going to be able to maneuver through this changeover between the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. If we don't have that guidance system in, we are going to just be bowled over by these big systems that have a plan and an agenda for us, or one-on-one relationships. It could be in any arena in your life that your voice is going to be taken over by the stronger voice.
Well, we are coming up to the break. So while we are on the break, please go to your Facebook page and look up our group, Discover and Live Your Life Purpose. You should have enough time during the break to apply for entry into this group. We've got about 3 minutes coming up here on the break. And keep in mind that TFR is a listener-supported station, and your contribution goes to help Spirit's Journey continue, as well as Truth Frequency Radio. And so you can go to our page on tfrlive.com to become a supporter of TFR and Spirit's Journey. Right now, this is Spirit's Journey on Truth Frequency Radio being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio, and we will...
Real people, real radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back from the break. If you're joining us, this is Spirit's Journey with Patrick and Catherine Andrews. We are coming to you live from Truth Frequency Radio and Oneness Talk Radio. And today we're going to make some time for callers. So if you would like to call in, you can call in the U.S. at 213-233-3998, in the U.K. at 44-203-393-2871.
You can either share a dream, or, because our focus today is life purpose and creative self-expression, what are you wanting to create and how do you feel blocked by it? And perhaps we can help you unblock what you are trying to create, because the energies are ripe for bringing out your true, unique voice.
So as we mentioned, we have a new group so that we can all come together in spiritual community and interact with each other on a deeper level. That is called Discover and Live Your Life Purpose. That's a Facebook group. So go to your Facebook page, go to groups, and look up Discover and Live Your Life Purpose. And we would love to have you in our community. So we wanted to talk just a little bit as we get started with the second half about life purpose, because a lot of times we don't take the time to think about why it is that we came into this life. And when we talk about life purpose, we look at two aspects, actually. There's one aspect, which is what we want to give to the world while we're here. It's what we want to do or accomplish. Sometimes we refer to this as our mission. So we always have to take a step back and look at the overall context, because one of the reasons why this show is called Spirit's Journey is because we recognize that ultimately we are really energetic beings. We are spirits or souls, however you want to describe that, but that we had some kind of an existence before we came into this life, and after this life we will continue with some kind of an existence. And even though there may be differences in terms of exactly how that worked, that is one thing that most people do have a common belief about, is that continuity of existence, that we existed before we came in, we will continue to exist afterwards. And so that's really the Spirit's journey, is what came before and what is happening in our life now and what came after. But when we really take that seriously, when we take that to heart and we look at how that belief, how that knowledge affects our life, then it changes the context of our life. We begin to realize that we actually came into this life with plans. And just like you might have plans for what you want to do with your life, or you might have plans with what you want to do after you get out of college, things like that. As we come into this life, we have plans too. And so the two ways that they typically break down from what we have learned as we've been going down this journey of our own is that we have the mission, which is what we want to accomplish, but then there's also something that we want to learn while we are here too. And we describe that as our learning purpose. So if you think about, well, what is it that I want to do with my life? A lot of times if you think back to when you were younger, or you look for those little clues of things that have popped up time and time again in your life, a lot of times that's how we can start to see the overall theme. Now, where we get into trouble is when we get off of our path. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that your career has to be completely related to your life purpose, but it is very important that you make space in your life for your life purpose, for you to be really fulfilled and happy and feel like you're complete, feel like you're a whole person and you're really on your path this lifetime. So it needs to fit in there somewhere.
And also, so I use a little different terminology sometimes when I work with astrology clients or whatever. And so when you say, what is our mission? What do we want to give to the world? I explain that as, what are the talents that you came this lifetime to give? So it's developing the talents and then figuring out how you can share them in the world. And then the learning is, of course, the lessons. And we find that astrology and the other intuitive sciences, palmistry, numerology, are great tools to understand what are the lessons. Now, sometimes people get freaked out when they're like hearing the word lessons because they think it's going to be something hard and difficult. So another way to look at it is areas where you lack experience. So as Patrick was saying, we come into this lifetime with a past. We've had many past lives, and we haven't been able to experience everything possible in those past lives. So the areas that we haven't had experience are also what sometimes challenge us. So it is sometimes considered a lesson or an area where we have lacked experience. And so when I look at it from that perspective, it actually seems exciting to me, like, wow, this is an area where I've lacked some experience and I get to have these new experiences to learn this. So that's another way to look and understand life purpose.
Sometimes people also refer to it as dharma. Dharma can literally be translated as duty. And the reason why it's considered your duty to your life and to the world is because, like Catherine was talking about, it revolves around your talents. It's things that you have built a lot of understanding of during your whole existence, not just during this lifetime, but before this lifetime even. You've built these understandings. You have a solid understanding that you can easily bring out into your life and apply. And so when we are talented in an area, we do have a sort of a duty to ourselves to really be able to use those talents. And then as we really understand what our gifts and talents are and we apply those in our lives and we share those with other people benefit as well. And as we have heard many times, and you probably know, that as other people benefit, you benefit as well. So everyone is able to do better. So our goal really is to help, each person better themselves, and then together, collectively, as we are each bettering ourselves, then we make this world a better place to live and learn and grow, because we are improving ourselves constantly, and as we improve, then we make everything better for everyone.
And, one of the ways you can really discover what are some of your, unique talents is to look on your astrology chart and look at the planet Uranus. See the sign and the house that it's in, because this is going to reveal a lot about your uniqueness. And a lot of us don't often feel comfortable bringing out our unique voice because we want to follow the herd for some reason. So numerology for this year ties into this idea. We are in the year 2019, and so the personal year number is a number 3. And so we've got about 4.5 months to go until we enter 2020, which is going to be a year 4. So what I would say in 2019, these last few months, is communicate, express yourself. The 3-year is all about communication and how can you express the true you. we all have our unique sweet spot, our uniqueness, our unique voice. So how can you bring out your unique voice? That's what the opportunity for 2019 is allowing all of us. So we may find that, there's just a lot of communication going on, a lot of mental energy, a lot of social things. And we can just, take advantage of all that. And if you have not developed some kind of creative pursuit or found a way to really express your true self, you've got about 4.5 months more to be able to do that. So again, the full moon coming up here on August 15th in Aquarius, and the sun currently being in Leo is a perfect opportunity to delve deep into your creative essence and what can you bring out to share with other people. When we come into 2020, it's going to be a big shift into number 4, which is going to be hunkering down and doing the work, building a foundation. So I don't know about you all, but I am trying to make the most of this 3 energy. As I said, I've had a book in me that I've been working on for many, many years that I finally have felt like I've got the message and I'm finishing it up. So I'm hoping by the end of 2019 that I have completed that process. So call in and share with us, what kind of creative pursuits have you got going on? What is your unique voice? How could you express yourself? And if you feel blocked, let us know how. Maybe there's a dream that you remember that you can bring out that will help us get to the core of why you've been feeling blocked.
All right. Once again, that number is 213-233-3998 in the U.S. And so keep in mind, too, that when we are talking about, things where we feel blocked in our life, that a lot of times revolves around our lessons. Sometimes we refer to that as karma. And karma is really just talking about cause and effect relationship of our thoughts, that when we act on our thoughts, then it creates certain repercussions in our life. We experience those repercussions, and then a lot of times we experience that as karma. So karma isn't good or bad, it's neutral. But a lot of times we think of it as bad karma because it brings back unpleasant circumstances. If you think of it like a seed, it's really just a matter of whether you are planting a seed that you really want to grow in your garden, like maybe a daffodil seed or a cucumber seed or something like that, or if it is something that you don't really want in your garden, like a lot of times people want to pull the dandelions out, even though actually that makes a really good, healthy tea for you, or, some kind of a weed or something that's choking out the things that you want to grow in your garden. So the weeds you can consider our unproductive thoughts. Those are the things that are actually taking away from who we really want to be, where we want to be, what we want to accomplish in our lives. So look in your life for anything that is robbing you, stealing from you, sapping your energy, and keeping you from really doing the things that you want to do. Those are distracting thoughts. So we want to weed those out of our mind and focus on the things that are actually producing what we want to do. So one easy way to do this is, simply keep a list. You can make it 5 or 10 things and keep it on your mirror in the bathroom, keep it by your bed, keep it in your office where you can look at it frequently, somewhere that it can remind you of what is really most important in your life. So you can call this your top 5 list or your top 10 list, but the main thing is it keeps bringing your attention back to those things that are important so that you can identify when you're getting off track. If you're getting into Netflix series or something like that, and you just keep watching episode after episode when you only really intended to sit down and watch one, then maybe it's time to turn off the TV and get focused back on what you really want to do in your life. And so when you have those kinds of lessons that come up, that can relate to your spiritual learning if it's something that is recurring in your life. So look for those things and identify, where those opportunities for growth are. And then as you work toward those, it'll strengthen those areas as you also look for your gifts and talents and look for ways to express and share those.
So, Patrick, do you think that this overgrowth of weeds, in other words, all these thoughts that we don't want, Do you think that's one of the reasons that a lot of us get pulled off our life purpose, is that our mind is overcrowded with all these negative, thoughts that go against what we truly want?
Definitely. And we need to be aware that those thoughts come from a lot of different places. There are experiences, misunderstandings that we take with us from one lifetime to another. And so those can come up again in our life, and it's something that we still need to work out and resolve. But then there's plenty of things within our life that we take on as we're younger. So as we're born, our brain is basically a blank slate ready to be programmed for all of the things that we want to do during this life. And we know that there are, many more neural connections when we are babies than when we're older. And so actually there's just all this unlimited potential. And then as we start to hone in on certain specific things, such as the language that you're going to be using during your life and the life experiences that you have, the things that you're accustomed to in your culture, all of those things start to shape who we are this life in terms of our physical personality that we will keep with us and develop during this lifetime. But we can pick up attitudes and thoughts. A teacher maybe says something in the spur of the moment, not realizing the impact it may have on you, saying, oh, if you don't shape up, you're never going to amount to anything. And maybe your teacher intended for it to be kind of a motivational thing at the time, but didn't realize the thing that was going to stick in your mind is you are never going to amount to anything. So you have this thought going on in the back of your mind. Maybe it was one of your parents who said something like that. But we have those unconscious beliefs that we form. And especially when we're younger, we don't really have the understanding of the power of our thoughts and our ability to really direct our life and be the captain of our own ship. And so sometimes we take those things to heart, and they can be insidious. They can be this kind of voice in the back of our mind that's always sort of undermining everything that we do. So as we do things like meditation, we take time to be quiet. In fact, I was just reading an article about how important it is to quiet the mind. And it's interesting because in the article, they actually used silence as a control because they were trying to understand the impact that, certain thoughts and feelings had on the mind, but they were using silence as a control. But what they found is actually the silence increased the activity and the healing in the mind so much more than they expected, so that they actually found out that the silence is not just a resting time, it's actually a very beneficial, very empowering, powerful time for the mind. So that's why these practices like meditation have endured for thousands and thousands of years. And so whatever form really makes sense to you, whether it's walking quietly in nature or, I really believe that's why a lot of people take up fishing, because when you're out on the boat, there's long periods of time between fish. You're just sort of sitting there quietly observing, enjoying nature, things like that. So there's a lot of different activities that people do that are similar to that. And of course, there's more traditional meditation techniques where you sit down in a comfortable chair and you focus on your breathing and you quiet your mind. But the main thing is to really get out of all of that inner chatter so that you can actually quiet the conscious mind down long enough so that you can start to hear that inner voice. You can start to hear those inner thoughts. And not only will you receive those spiritual inspirations that we have talked about before, but also you will start to become aware of insidious thoughts that are actually working against you. You will become aware of those weeds. And as you become aware of them, you can start rooting those out of your mind by replacing those thoughts with something more productive. So that's why it's always important to know what it is that you really want to create. Have that always easily in the top of your mind, so that as you become aware of those insidious, unproductive thoughts, you can start refocusing your attention. And so you want to make sure that you aren't feeding those negative thoughts that are working against you. And whenever you notice those come up, just tell yourself, stop, that isn't what I want. This is what I want. And that's when you replace it with a positive image of the desire that you want to create in your life.
That's awesome, Patrick. And I would also add that I think another big distraction from our life purpose is the whole economic field, where our finances become centermost rather than our gifts and talents. And so we are being redirected by society to think about, well, what's the best way that I can earn money? And that completely distracts us away from our true gifts and talents. So not everyone is going to be a millionaire by bringing out their gifts and talents. We've heard the old saying, do what you love and the money will follow. And I think that's a little bit of a misnomer because it doesn't mean you're going to be a millionaire. I think the essence of that means that you will be supported. Now, whether or not that means billions of dollars. So, I mean, if my interest is building, technology, well, there's a lot of money in technology. So if that is truly what I love to do is play around with tech. My opportunities, for making money are probably going to be bigger than maybe somebody whose interest is gardening, let's say. So if we are truly willing to bring out the gifts and talents, regardless of whether that makes us a millionaire, I think that is one of the tests that we are facing today is, as long as we're being supported, we're able to get by in life with our gifts and talents, are we going to be okay with that, even if it means it doesn't make us a millionaire?
It's really interesting that you say that because we were actually just talking to Alexander Ford last week, and we had this discussion on the show, and I've seen this before in a report. It was really interesting. They were talking about happiness and the amount of money that would create happiness. And so what they found was, as people earn more and more, approaching $100,000 range, that their happiness would actually increase. And so they were speculating some of the reasons why, maybe because they were people were being relieved of the stress of not knowing if they were going to be able to pay their bills, which obviously, if you're really worried about, are you going to have enough money to pay your bills? That's kind of stressful. That's going to affect your happiness. But then they were also able to get enough extra money, so they're able to fulfill some of those desires that they had. But then they found that, once people had enough money, that they had some nice things, some things that they've wanted. They were able to go on trips, things like that, that there was a certain point over $100,000 where they actually had a point of diminishing returns. And so part of their speculation for that was that as you start to earn more and more money beyond that point, that your responsibilities increase. And so then your stress level actually starts to increase again because you have so many things to keep track of. You get so busy that you aren't able to have enough time to really take time to relax and enjoy your life, things like that. So that's something I think that we all really need to think about is, do we really need to be a millionaire? I know that's sort of this thought, especially in the culture of our country. Everybody wants to make it big. Everybody wants to be, well, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say, I want to be a millionaire and all these things. And it does seem to be very prevalent in this country. But sometimes we just need to think about, well, how much do I really need to make to be happy, to really be healthy, to live the kind of life that I really want to live? Do I need all of that? And so maybe I just need to make enough so that I can meet those goals and really live the life that I want and be happy and healthy, and my family can be happy and healthy. And so sometimes going beyond that actually becomes counterproductive. And, we were talking about how sometimes when entrepreneurs are growing their business, they grow their business to the point where the business takes a life of its own, and it actually starts to suck more of their time and attention and energy. And then they're running around trying to take care of all these things, managing this huge business that they've now created. And some people might think, oh, well, that's the American dream. You've hit it big, you've made it. But then the result of that is not what they expected. So I've seen some entrepreneurs actually scale things back again, because they realized that, they ended up just working for everyone else, keeping all this going, making sure their employees had jobs, which is great, to give somebody a job, but if it's affecting your happiness and things like that, that definitely becomes a detriment. So it's something to think about, is to be real clear in your mind about what is it that is your image of happiness, and stick to that. How many times are we affected by, our parents or a friend or somebody who says, oh, you can't do that, you're never going to make any money at that. So do we take on those beliefs? Do we take on their limited idea, or do we move forward with what we want to do? And again, like I said earlier, it doesn't mean that your career has to be exactly in alignment with your life purpose. Sometimes your life purpose works into your life in other areas, like working with youth or doing art or something like that. You don't necessarily have to be a professional artist and that's your career. You could, work in another field and come home and do your art in the evenings and things like that. the main thing is just work it into your life. And so if we take those quiet moments and we look in for what we want to really give to the world, what we want to accomplish while we're here, what our gifts and talents are that will lead us all on that aspect of our life purpose, and then also listen for what are we learning? What are those learning themes that we've had so that we can grow and learn as a spiritual being and as an individual during this life.
And I think what you mentioned is a lot about what happens when the ego gets involved. And then the ego takes over and convinces us that we just need to make more and more. And so it distracts us away from the gifts and talents to, how much more money can I make with this? And so we're all faced with how are we going to align and keep the ego intact and let the soul be the driver, not the ego. And I think that money is definitely something that the ego can use as a distraction away from the true being of service and the gifts and talents. I've seen a lot of that with, people who get involved with the multi-level marketing business where maybe the product was something that interested them, but then sometimes at some point it moves into just, I want to make more money with this product. And so they've completely moved away from their true purpose. So it is a lot to do with the ego, unfortunately. And it's something we just, from the spiritual perspective have to do with. So the more, again, that we align with the true gifts and talents, we are aligning with the soul. And that then becomes stronger and stronger and keeps the ego in check.
Well, that's a really good point, is that more mentality and thinking more is better and bigger is better. And that isn't always the case. And I'm a real proponent for environmental sustainability and also for financial sustainability. And that more all the time and bigger is better all the time is not sustainable, either environmentally or financially. And we're seeing that time and time again. You're seeing these companies, we don't have to be ruthless and smash the competition and things like that to be successful and be able to support your family and build what you want. And so that kind of ruthless mentality in business needs to change. As we move forward into a new spiritual vision for the world, we can adopt an attitude that everybody can win. So we're looking for the win-win. We're looking for growing to that point where everybody has what they need, and then we can approach a more financially sustainable economic model for this country and for the world, as well as a more environmentally sustainable model for this country and the world. And we're seeing that over and over again. Well, we are approaching the end of the show, and we love having you with us. So please connect with us on Facebook at Spirits Journey Radio. Be sure to like our page so that we can be part of your life and we can be part of yours. You can study with us or get a reading from us at intuitiveschool.com. This has been Spirits Journey Live on Truth Frequency Radio. We're being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. I'm Patrick Andrews.
And I'm Catherine. Have an amazing week. We'll catch y'all next Saturday.
Be awesome, and bye for now.